Aga, you've been traveling around the world. I mean, I got dizzy listening to you describe how many countries you went, in the last year. Tell us how you balance work, a very demanding career, and just life. How are you kind of finding that balance? There's some tricks you can share with the audience.
Okay. Well, that's a challenge in itself, so I will not be lying. But I think that the crucial part of this is, two. One is that I don't perceive my work as work. And that's something that Mrs. Lydia said yesterday. Find yourself a job that you love, and you'll never work one day in your life. And this is how I feel, so that's great. Of course, this job is demanding. It takes a lot of preparation, both from the side of technical aspects to business aspects, because I'm working as a linking bridge between the sales and IT, and from the pre-sales time of the project to or part of working with a client to sales to post-sale. That includes demonstrating the system, preparing the offer, negotiating the contract, not legal stuff. I'm not a lawyer by no means. And then looking after the implementation and also taking part in the steering committees and working as a business owner of the project. So there is a lot really. But the fact that I see that we are delivering something that the client really likes. So that when I come to the meeting and someone says, oh my God, the system that you are showing us, the services that you provide, we can just really see that they are going to make our life much easier. There's something we also discussed in the break, that there is a big side of the user experience coming to the software. So now having a software that is really intuitive, and we show it to people, it's like, oh, there's so much I can do with no IT skills, with no HTML skills. Great, we makes our life easier, makes our work faster, decreases the cost. And I think that because I can see the real impact in the businesses, and also because I am in very many cases end consumer of the projects that we deliver. So namely we do software for powering loyalty programs for airlines. So if I fly with British Airways and I collect my points, I actually use the app that we
that you
provide.
designed.
So that we've done, yes. So it's great because I can see how the businesses benefit from it and how I benefit from it as a consumer as well. And that's one thing, that's enjoying what you really do. So it's also great aspect that I can travel and see many places, experience different cultures. I can see my friends as well. So when I go to work with Heathrow Airport, who are my client, I visit my friends who I met when I was at the university, as many of them live in London. Or I met friends that I haven't seen for 10 years when I went for a project in South Africa. So that's a great aspect. The second one is my partner, who is very understanding, is very supportive, and that also came up yesterday, that if we have got this balance of two people working together and appreciating, of course, there is a lot of stuff that I have to do, but there is a lot that he takes on himself. So because we now don't have this gap that used to be years ago, that these are typical female tasks, these are male tasks, and women have to take so much more, because we don't have it, that helps a lot. And the fact that by profession he's a chef and he cooks a lot, that definitely helps too.
That's a good division of labor. You stay home and cook for me, and I'll cook, and I'll come home and
well, he obviously is quite busy running his business too, because he's got this big restaurant. But we do have got this good split of tasks and support each other in
the modern couple, as we say. I'd love to actually end this with a lightning round. I'm just going to say, if you could give an advice or a model that you live by, or idea for how we all help all boats rise in this gender battle that we're in, what would you say, Alaina?
I would say that it's important to support and invest in people. It doesn't have to be at the start of your career. The midpoint in your career is so important, but also the more senior you get. You look around this room, and everyone in this room is invested in their career. They're smart and they're driven. And whether you're 20 or 60, you need advice, you need support, and you are a leader and have advice and support to give. And so don't imagine that you get to some point and then you don't need it anymore, that it only belongs to people who are just getting started. We all need that support, and we all need to be supporting each other.
Awesome.
I would say be curious. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but also one of my mottos that I have specifically right now is don't be afraid to do something on something that you're not comfortable, right? Every week almost, whether it is public speaking or asking for a raise or anything. If it sounds that you don't know how to do it, just do it, or go and do something about it to make you a little bit more comfortable. There are plenty of groups and organizations and communities that can make you feel more comfortable doing that.
Yeah. I would say go for it, but give yourself time as well with what you want to achieve. So my problem, for example, was that I wanted to be best at everything straight away. And that was my problem. So I jumped into IT with no IT background, and I expected to be the best from the very beginning, which was impossible. And the advice I was getting from my manager was to take a step back, sit down, learn something. He said, ask questions, go to the IT engineers, talk to them. And I was scared because I felt like, oh, I'm going to lose my face because they will see that I don't know it. So I was afraid of showing that I don't know something that I was not expected to know. So that's something I've learned. And what I say now to myself, it's never a failure, always a lesson. So that's my advice.
That's great.
For me, I'd say two things. Don't be wishy-washy. Don't be afraid to make decisions. Go ahead and do it. Embrace the gray area. That's, we all live in the gray area, so love it. And you don't have to be perfect. I think perfection is one of our nemesis, and it prevents us from doing a lot of things that we otherwise could do and want to do.
My piece of advice would be, if you don't see it, go out and create it. And an example of that is when I had my own company, I was a mom of two now, and I didn't have any sort of networking group for CEOs and moms. So I created the CEO Moms Group. And we met every month in my office, and then it started rotating to other people's offices. And the woman, Joanna, who ended up hiring me at IBM, owned her own business at the time. She was a member of the CEO Moms Group. That's how we met. So by going out there and taking initiative, you can create miraculous things that you don't even realize what the outcome is going to be 10 years later.
That is awesome. I will say that I'm a big reader, and I love Angela Duckworth's book, Grit. If you haven't read it, I totally recommend it. I'm trying to raise a young person who's 5 and turning 15 in a world where I believe will be changing constantly. So my biggest lesson to all of you, and thank you so much, panelists, for all sharing, is that you don't fall into the psychology of failure. Take that, to your point, failure as a lesson, because all of us are a culmination of our experiences, good and bad. So take that risk, and hopefully some of these stories today inspire you to kind of go ahead and trailblaze in your own way. Thank you.